Good morning, ladies and gents. So today we're going to pick up where I left off the day before yesterday, and I apologize profusely for missing yesterday. As I said in chat, I just kind of slept straight through my alarm and then some, to the point where I woke up and was like, oh right, if I started streaming I'd have like 5 minutes right now. So I kind of skipped out. Sorry about that. We're going to pick up exactly where we left off, though. You can see I've been messing with the inventory window a bit in hopes of finding something akin to a more final form for it. At this point, I'm thinking that I might increase the amount of inventory space here. Obviously, 8 is not much in terms of a kind of a system for having the inventory stick out and be usable. So I'm trying to make sure that there's enough space everywhere for everything. You'll also note that I'm spending a fair amount of time kind of getting the placement of these things going and working on that, mostly because I want it to be kind of intuitive and not take up a ton of space. We still want it nice and compact so that the player, when they're mousing between things, doesn't have to fight with the way in which they handle all of their items when they start to equip them to a character. So I'll keep messing with that later. For now, I'll just kind of leave it as is. The big thing is we need to finish up stacking items, and then we need to add a weight to items so that as a character carries more and more, they at some point will get encumbered and will not be able to do things without spending more energy to make those same actions. So yeah, here, basic inventory window, great. Actually, where did all the items on any of these characters go? They used to have an inventory full of things. Right. And now, now that I think about it, because I changed the format of my items, I'm no longer able to quite dump items the way I could. I can't just pick them up and drop them into Unity's interface. So I actually probably need to build a custom editor interface for items specifically. Not the worst thing in the world, just means that we have to figure that one out. And we also have to make sure that it works for an array, because the character inventories are nothing but array slots. So I guess I should say array items? Beyond the point. The point here is we've got our work set out for us. So where I left off last time was we had kind of the infrastructure that I had set up last time, which is we have essentially an item definition, and then that item definition has multiple subclasses in front of it that allow it to add information to that definition. So obviously a consumable item is going to be different from a key, which is going to be different from a weapon or armor. And so we have all these different subtypes, and then we have an item instance, which kind of encapsulates everything. And that's, I guess it's kind of weird, honestly. And I just, yeah. So the one thing I want to know, and I'm not sure if this is the case, because I've never done this before, when you use the is operator on an object, if you say if instance is type, usually you can then very easily and quickly check whether or not the object is a certain subtype. And what I want to do is I want to be able to check not the item instances type, but I want to check the definitions type. So I'm kind of looking at whether or not I can overload that operator. I actually don't know if I would be able to. I don't actually care about conversion operators. I'm kind of curious if I can overload the is operator. And I know C# isn't hot on the idea of overloading operators, specifically when it comes to messing with how things like that work. But I do think that it would be something that would be helpful. It's definitely interesting to see all the different kinds of operators that they have, but I don't know. I think this is all that you can... Man, that would suck. That would suck if that's all you can override. Oh, maybe they say is a keyword and not an operator, therefore you can't actually do the check on it. That would kind of suck as well. Get type would give you the concrete type. Is just checks if that type is part of the inheritance tree. Ooh. Okay. So Fox and Regathian both are on the track of what I'm hunting for. Yeah, essentially what I'd like to be able to do is say, okay, I have some item instance, and I want to say, well, if the item is, you know, a weapon type, a weapon item, right? Because that's the syntax that makes the most sense when you're reading it from an English point of view. Or the other thing I might be more tempted to do is use a get definition, but instead of just get definition, I'll want to do the cast to something like that, almost the same way that Unity does their get component, so that not only does it match Unity's component style, but also I don't have to do any crazy casting myself. I could just do it all within this like template function and have it taken care of that way. So I'm a little back and forth on what I'm hunting for. But that said, I really should get back to what I was working on. So let's get items stacking at least. Let's see here. So we have item instances, and we have a stack size as part of an item instance. So that's already set and in here. Do I use it anywhere? No. No, I don't. We have a maximum stack size and we have a stack size. So what I think I'm going to do from this point is figure out how we're going to start doing splitting and putting things back together inside of our UI, because that's going to be one of the more interesting points when we handle stuff like this. So, okay, first off, actually, I think before we can even do that, we have to start putting things back in people's inventories, and I have no way to do that right now. So I actually am afraid that that has to come first. And the reason I say I'm afraid that has to come first is because I'm not a huge... I don't use editor modifications a ton. And so I need to figure out how I'm going to take care of this. I think I can just make a drawer for it. In the same way I have a skill drawer, I'm going to have an item instance drawer that will be very similar. So I will have a custom property drawer. I need to use Unity engine dot Is that what I have to do? Yeah, that is. Let's get these out of here. Unnecessary using statements. It's nice to be able to see them separately so that I can take care of that. And thank you, Executron. I definitely will check my Twitch messages after this. Okay, so. Question becomes, can I use this inside of an array? That's really the big question here. Because that's going to be what makes or breaks a lot of this. Also, what is going on here? Come on, guys. Let's keep the same style across all of our work. And, okay, so we have a... currently this uses label and value. All I'm going to do for now is just slap a label into place. Using as much area as I can. We'll just put test here. And that's all I'm going to care about at the moment. Just to see. I think this will work, but I want to make sure. Oh, right. This isn't correct. Type of what? Type of item instance. I think I'm doing this correctly. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll definitely find out in a moment if I'm doing this correctly. Okay, so player character 1. So first off, their inventory just straight up isn't showing up. So that's one thing. Oh, and that's because, that is because, where's the inventory instance? This needs to be, if I'm not incorrect here, this needs to be a Unity Engine object. Kind of weird, but you know what? I don't judge. Architectural patterns are still architectural patterns, even if they're a little weird. Okay, here's our inventory slots. Aha. There we go. And okay, cool. This is doing exactly what I want it to do. Control E, D reformats the document if you've already got the C# default settings. Sweet. I want to try it. Alright, let's put this on the wrong line. Let's put it in the complete wrong place. Control E, D. The key combination Control E, D is not a command. Nope, try again, Regathian. I'm using defaults. I'm pretty sure I'm on defaults. I could be wrong. And God knows, I've definitely been wrong on many, many occasions. Okay, so what does this look like? Control K and D for me? Okay, let's try it. I'm just sciencing here. Key combination Control K and D is not a command. Okay. Visual Studio, you weird. You freaky. Alright. Sorry guys, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I probably picked general dev settings when I first started up, probably. Knowing me, that's something I would do. So we need, let's see here. We need some information, and we need more space is going to be the thing that gets me here. Rectangle position is not going to be something I can modify. The serialized property, probably not going to be able to modify that a ton either. So this is probably going to be my way to handle some of the nastier parts of this. And I am kind of curious, if I do this, actually, if I do this, and I put my, block comments in the right order, I am kind of curious what it does for the inventory slot. So it just says it wants an item instance. It doesn't tell me how, and that's fine. Okay, so let's see. When we did this with skills, it was pretty straightforward, right? We split it into label and integer bar, and that was kind of it, and we didn't care. Here, I need to take care of it slightly differently. We need to, let's see, what do we need to do here? So we need a couple pieces of information. One is going to be stack size, right? The other is going to be the actual item definition needs to go in here. So let's see. Image, text, and tooltip is part of the GUI content. I have to figure out how to expand this slightly if I can. That would really be the way I want to handle this. So let's start with, we need two fields here, right? Editor GUI dot, let's see, get, not property height. I guess I should be looking for a field of some type. So we want a, probably like a handle field or a, I guess I have to just look through this silly thing. float field, a fold out field, a help box, indented rectangle. No, I'm looking for an object field, and I should have just jumped straight to object field, guys. I'm a complete derp sometimes. And I'm just going to use the full position for this thing. Object will be property dot can I do this? Item instance equals property as instance. Sorry, equals property as item instance. There we go. That's better. Sorry, phone. I've got server duty coming up, and server duty tends to mean if something goes wrong with the server, regardless of what hour of the day it is, I have to be on it. So, sorry if I keep checking my phone each time it goes off. I'm especially happy to see it go off for new followers. That's great. But even if it's not new followers, I still have to check it anyway, just in case. Because if terrible things are happening, well, I need to be able to handle it. Okay, serialized property. I think I need to understand what I'm messing with first. Before I can even do anything. Also, I'm going to run a little test while I'm doing all this. Here's a label field. Can I use a layout, I wonder, to avoid this? Editor GUI layout dot begin vertical. And I'm just going to do the following. We're going to do an editor GUI layout dot label that just says test. Actually, test 1, and then test 2. And I'm going to attach a debugger now, just so I can see what's going on inside of here. I didn't expect it to go off quite so early. This object isn't even showing. Ah, okay. So not only does it seem to be having a little trouble. Okay. Let's toss the breakpoint in here and watch it do its thing. Okay, so it's got a position, it's got a width, it's got a height. Great. Serialized property. What is this? Element 0. That's a lovely, terrible name. But okay, I think I understand what you're talking about. It's essentially the element in the array. Double value is 0, so it should... These should pretty much always be instantiated. They should never be null. So I need an if on the null. An if on the reference value being null. And then the other... Okay, so let's start with that. I don't need to be debugging anymore. If property is null. Actually, do I need the property to be null? If property is null, let's do this properly. Haha, properly with properties, right? If it's null, spot empty. Editor GUI dot label field that takes up the entire position that simply says something along the lines of inventory slot empty. Or maybe I'll just say empty slot. But we're not going to just leave it at that. I hope there's some kind of button here. It doesn't look like there is, which is unfortunate, because I could really use a button right about now. Let's see here. Unity editor button. Adding buttons to a custom inspector. Yeah, and it's... okay, there's code. That's fine. I can handle this. I can do code. Oh, really? So the only thing I can't help but notice is that this says on inspector GUI, which makes me think it's the, yeah, Unity 4.3. Is there a Unity 5 version? I would appreciate it. Extending the editor, a custom inspector. Adding buttons to a custom inspector. Great. It's still 4.3. Okay, so either that hasn't changed, or what I need to do is figure out how to... nope, that's a standard button. That is a very different kind of button than what I want. Come on, Unity. I'm looking for something what I consider to be fairly simple. Of course, I say it's fairly simple. It might not actually be incredibly simple. Name behavior, don't care. Okay, that's unhelpful. Create a button in the inspector. Watch, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be that GUI. Oh, or it's not even going to... okay. Inspector button for custom class. I have a feeling this isn't going to work, but it's always worth testing things out, just in case. It looks a little funny. Why do I need a button? So the idea here is that if... mismatched layout group repaint. What if I say... okay, override void on... damn it. I really can't type. Okay, get property height. Ah. Okay, okay. So what I'm trying to do, and I'll try and explain while I'm doing things, is I'm trying to get this to do a couple things for me. One, if it's null, I'd like to have a line that's blank that says, hey, this slot is empty, and I'd like to have a plus button so that I can essentially tell it to instantiate something in that slot. Because at this point, an item instance is something that should never, ever be instantiated inside of something like a prefab. We don't want to do that. We already have item definitions. We don't need item instances being prefabs. So what I'm trying to do is come up with a way to essentially say, okay, I have an object. If it is null, we need to instantiate it. Once we instantiate it, we need to be able to mess with the properties on the inside of it. 8-Bit Crab, thank you for following, by the way. I hear my phone go off, and this morning I am checking every single text that, or not text, but email that comes in, so thank you. Excuse me. Thank you to everybody who follows. I know I may not have named you all at the time, but I do appreciate the support. GUI dot. Man, I just want like a click thing. That's all I want, is something I can click inside the editor A selectable label. Okay, we're close. Tag field, a toggle. Toggle left. I just feel like it shouldn't be that difficult. Editor, let's see, what am I doing? I'm doing a property drawer. And I want a button inside of it. Oh my god. This is such overkill. Okay, but you can do GUI layout.button. That's a thing. I should be able to do this. Look like controls. Replicate the standard transform inspector GUI. Okay. So they're using something that I definitely... This looks like a custom editor for the whole thing, not a custom property drawer. Which is what's really bothering me. Okay, here's our property drawer. That's great. Okay, so he's using the editor GUI dot stuff. Really? Is that all I can do? Is just use existing things? I can't actually, like, include a button to be clicked on? So they have this draw text field, which uses editor GUI, and that's inside an on GUI call. Okay, well, and that's what I'm using, right? Yeah, on GUI. And the text field is, yeah, begin change check. Draw help box. So clearly there's a way to do this, because if we also look at the editor I made for the grid placement stuff, obviously there's some level of setup here that allows for buttons in the inspector. I've seen it done before, so I know that this is not something that is entirely, like, in my head. Okay, so I have a grid editor, which is an editor, and it's a custom editor for grid nodes. Maybe I should be using an editor instead? That seems a little silly, especially when what I have is almost working, except for it being in need of a button. But let's just... like I said, guys, I'm feeling my way through this one this morning. Unfortunately, that kind of means I don't just make something as quickly and easily as I'd like. I kind of get to explore and find the bits and pieces that make this up. Okay, there's the item instance editor. And then, just for kicks, because I can, dang it, I'm going to copy that and paste it here. And I'm just going to put a plus inside of it. Looks like, okay, we've got a blog post of somebody who might be doing something similar to what I'm doing. Property attribute basics. Okay, let's bring this up in front of everybody, because I don't think it's porn. Well, it's a programming porn. It's a different kind of porn. Have your class extend. Okay, property attribute, that's fine. Apply the attribute to the field using the notation used earlier. Oh, interesting. I want to glance at my code again real quick. So property drawer might not actually be what I'm hunting for. A property field. Okay. So the property field is the only part that I don't fully understand, because properties if done right, shouldn't honestly be handled in that manner. But look at this. Inside the property drawer, they use a GUI.button. I wonder what version of Unity they're using this with. I wonder if there's a date on this blog post somewhere. Because this is what I'm looking for. This exact thing. Like, Lemony Fresh has it. Okay, August 9th, 2014. So it's a little bit old. But it looks like it does what I want mine to do. Like, I don't fully understand how or why this is not. He's using a mixture of GUI button and editor GUI. That's going to freak me out a little bit. And I want to do this quick test before I do anything else. Okay. That's kind of what I expected to see. Okay, so here is our custom property thingy. And we're just going to try GUI.button. I need to give it a position. Oof. Let's just try giving it the position that the system currently has. Actually, no. New rectangle that uses position.x, position.y. It's going to be, I don't know, 16 pixels across, and whatever the position.height is. That sounds good. And the content will be a plus. I love how each time I do this, it causes the mismatched layout group in Repaint. Okay, so every time I tell it to repaint, it's going to throw this error a little bit more. Unity, why are you doing that? That's a little weird. Okay, let's get it back to a state where we know it works. Okay, so something is going wrong here, despite the fact if property is null. Okay, no, if property dot, I gotta remember this first. If the property dot reference, object reference value is null. There's problem number one. So, okay, it does not like this at all. I cannot use an editor GUI layout. Okay, so here's our empty slot, and I need to fix this as well. So if object reference value is null. Okay, cool. So we're back to a number of slots that show off based on this inventory size. Great. It's a good start. Now, yeah, it was throwing a lot of weird errors, and it took me a moment to quite wrap my head around what was going on. Now, let's see if GUI.button works in here. And I'm actually going to clear all our errors and stuff. Aha! Look at that. Okay, we're getting somewhere. First off, clearly 16 is not enough. And. We're not going to just use position. We need a new rectangle who is position.x plus, and this is where I need to do this correctly. So our button width is going to be 24. So we start at that plus button width. The y is position.y. And position.height. Yes. Okay. X, Y, 24. And height. Should do the trick. Should shift it over so that we've got... There we go. Look at that. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. We're getting somewhere now, guys. The variable label rectangle. Yeah, well, label rectangle can bugger off. So we can always wrap GUI dot whatever statements in a if statement that essentially says if it's interacted with, if it's changed. And so we say if this button has been pressed, then we are going to property.object reference instance value is a new item instance. And I can cheat like that because I know that implicitly convert type to int? Really? Oh, ID value. Wrong one. That one. We can essentially cheat like that because we understand that item instance is inherited off of object. Therefore, this should always be showing up inside of here. Now let's see. The moment we know it's not null, we need a couple things in here. An object field is definitely going to be necessary. Specifically for property.object reference value. Equals the property dot object reference value as an instance item, or an item instance, sorry. Item dot definition. And it's looking for a type. I'm gonna give it an inventory, type of inventory item. And we'll start there and kind of keep going. Object field is obsolete. Check the docs for the usage of the new parameter allow seen objects. Okay, I'm using an obsolete function. That's not good. Object system type. I need to find a better one, is essentially what it's telling me. This one, I believe, is what it's actually hunting for. So it got position, object, type, and no, we don't allow seen objects. And this returns an object, so we have to do one quick cast back to inventory item so that it can sit in place and be happy. Alright, fingers crossed, here we go. So I click on button, and I was kind of hoping it would do something. Is there some, like, serialize or mark as dirty? Okay. I'm going to look back at that blog post for a moment. When something changed inside of there, did they mark anything or do anything to make sure? Okay, increment direction is 1. Value string is blank. If it's a float, then we increment the float. Interesting. Okay. I'm kind of curious what's going on here. So I'm going to attach this back to Unity again, because I don't quite fully understand what's going on here. I should put the button width inside the GUI button call. Oh, I should. You are totally correct. Let me fix that. That is actually part of the reason I put that button width thing in the first place, and then to completely forget it, well, let's just say it makes me feel really dumb. Okay, come on. I click on the button. I hit F10. Now, clearly, if we look at the property, element 0, okay, editable, true, So we have this like property path, which is kind of weird. But that looks like a string. Yeah, definitely a string. Property type is an object reference. The serialized object okay, so we can get to the character. So that might be one way to get to this. But I feel like we're not setting this correctly for some reason. Because if we look at this property, now that I've set it, its reference value is still marked as null, and that kind of messes with me. Type is not a supported int value. Is that really an error I've been seeing? Property is that if this, that. Okay, yeah, that looks fine. What am I missing? Instantiating prefabs through an editor script. Not quite. Not quite. That's not really what I'm looking for. Instantiating objects from array to a random position. No, adding instantiated objects to arrays. Close. Let's try adding property drawer to the search, and I'll bring the search in front of you. Creating a property drawer. Oh, did I just go back to the same thing? It looks like I did. So that's interesting. They have this serialized player.apply modified properties. But if I'm setting the data in here, I shouldn't be... It shouldn't be messing with this, so it should be fine. Non-trivial property drawers. Great, guys. Let's see. Maybe it's got what I need. So this person uses the editor GUI.begin property. And then on checking, let's see, so they have begin property, and then they have begin change check. And then if anything changes, where's the end change is the question. Property field updates the property automatically, so no need to begin change check. Okay, if end change check. Okay, so we have this serialized property. We find the property relative to the current property. This feels really, really backwards and kind of bizarre. So I have the serialized property, which should be the object itself. I'm going to dump that back in there for a sec. And hit this plus button, which causes this to go off. That's so weird. This object is still marked as null, even though I just set it. Let's see here. Debug.log property.object reference value. Hello, wait a minute. Serialized object. This property belongs to read only though. So I can't. Oh, it belongs to. Wait, what? Belongs to read only. So I think this is the object at the highest level that's being serialized, which is why it looks kind of funny. Click on my player character, click on the plus, and it's still null, even after very, very explicitly setting it using the property. Okay, so I'm going to click on it again after attaching to Unity. We look at the serialized object. Okay, we are sitting inside of the... So we have a target object by name. We have full name. We have all this information that's attached to it. You'd think there'd be some way to just set within the property, though. I'm losing the property because it will ignore the else statement, which should fire in the same function call. No, it shouldn't fire the else. Not in the same frame. If it's still instantiating, then it's fine that I don't set that. Object reference value, object reference instance ID value. I'm kind of curious. If I look up Unity object, right? That's it. Just what its object class looks like. That looks pretty minimal, and I'm pretty sure transform, if I can find that. QRSTRA, transform. Transform inherits from component, and component inherits from object. Okay. I'm still failing to find an issue. If I inherit item instance from object, I wonder if I have to instantiate it in an interesting way. Losing the property because it will ignore the else. A new item instance is getting generated. And then it's like it's completely ignoring it or throwing it out. I'm thinking that maybe I have to instantiate it in an interesting way so that I have to instantiate it in such a way that it then allows me to... I essentially have to instantiate it using the Unity system. That's my thought. I don't know if that's actually the case. Create a separate item instance variable and see if that is set. Oh, it definitely shouldn't. Oh, actually, no, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Holy heck. Okay, item instance item is that item. And then I'm going to debug log on that, and I'm going to debug log on item. All right, Unity, come on. think I can close that one. And that one, and probably that one. Okay, I hit this, and both are null. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I called new, and then it's null. Why would it still be? Oh, Unity, you son of a... For those of you following on Twitter who are slowly getting my feed of Firefly-esque cussing words, essentially it boils down to poorly translated or poorly used Chinese. We might call this something like a goshu, which is, I don't know if I said that correctly, but it pretty much translates to dog shit, literally. So we could call it that. We could call Unity a lot of mean things right now. But the question is, why can't I instantiate this object? Yeah. Looking for new. And it's in... Okay, not what I'm hunting for. Neither is this, I don't think. Okay, interesting that they're using system.object here and the system.serializable. I wonder if that would be a better way to handle this. Granted, technically everything inherits from system.object. Let's see here. That one can go away, the skill drawer can go away, and the inventory item can go away, but what I do need is the script for the item instance. And I'm going to remove this quickly and mark this as what are they marking this as? Just system.serializable. Okay, I can do that. Let's see if that helps us out at all. I don't know if it will. I don't think it will, but it might. Okay, so we still have our inventory slots. Type is not a supported, what looks like pointer value. Type is not a supported pointer value. What am I trying to do that it is so incredibly unhappy with? Let's pull this first and see if it keeps complaining. Okay, it's still complaining, so I'm definitely doing something incorrectly here. Let's try this and see if it continues to complain. Okay, not complaining anymore. So it looks like this property.object reference value is giving me some, well, for lack of better words, some gruff. They did it as an instantiate object as item inventory in the Stack Overflow page. Oh, did they? Okay, Okay, first things first. I'm going to actually put this in here and attach it to Unity so I can look around a little more. I like to use the editor to just look around and see what the heck is going on, because I feel like this happens more often than I'd like to admit, but I don't know the insides of the structure. And because I don't know the insides of what that structure is, it makes it very, very difficult. Oh, interesting. Okay. It makes it very difficult for me to handle the various objects and bits and pieces that make this up. Is an array? No, because we're inside the array. Is expanded? No. Is instantiated prefab? No. Okay. So if I were to call new on this, the question is what happens? Okay, let's go to Executron's answer, and I think that he's on the right track here. So first off, let's put all these back in, at least for the moment, and we're going to switch this back to Unity engine.object. Today has been quite the adventure at bare minimum. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a instantiate call instead of just calling new. So this comes out to instantiate okay, I need not game object. I'm going to use object.instantiate. And so it's still looking for an original. That's the only thing that bothers me. Is I can't seem to find... Okay, there's an editor instantiate, but editor instantiate wants the same thing. Create instance. Cannot implicitly convert type scriptable object to an item instance. So we're kind of running into the same problem. And that's... Unfortunately, guys, I'm kind of running low on time. Oh, I hate this. This is kind of what I get for attempting to do this. Object.findProperty waves I'm supposed to be using prefabs for everything? Well, too freaking bad. I don't want to. This is actually a case where using a prefab is a terrible thing to do is the problem. Like, this is one of those cases where prefabs are not the right tool for this job. Okay. I'm going to take one more shot at this, and then I gotta go. We're going to go back to the system.serializable, because we know for a fact that some of this does work. And the stuff that does work that I do care about is the following. I should be able to let's see here. For now, let's just do this. Type is not supported, okay. Get object reference value. Okay, so this call right here is definitely causing us some pain. So the question is, which of these calls won't? If I say property dot, what do we have that it will give us? Number of elements in the array. If the serialized object contains multiple, it will return the smallest number of elements. Not really. Bounds value, color value, no. delete. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm starting to hunt for. Stuff like this. Delete command, depth, display name, duplicate command, find property relative, get end property, insert array element at index. Hello. Insert an empty element at the specified index in the array. Is an array, is an instantiated, move array element, source index to destination index, move to the next property, next visible, enter children. I mean, I guess I could always do this the messiest way possible, right? We say serialized object dot, we know the serialized object is the character that we're updating in most cases. So we could find it that way. It would not be the best way to handle that, though. That is really, like, that would be messy, and it would be a one very, very specific case sensitive. String value, tooltip, type, and vectors. Okay, so I feel like I'm staring at it and I'm just missing it. That I've like wandered past it and enumerator end property. Get end property. I know this has to be possible. It's got to be possible that you can instantiate an object of a certain type inside of here. And I can do the instantiation if it's a system.serializable. But I can't do the instantiation if it's an object. But if it's an object, it seems to fit in this structure better. Which is what's really, really getting to me, is I have very, very little clue of what should and shouldn't be going on in here. Okay, I have a label with the following stuff. It has a text that says element 0, it has a tooltip, and an image. Nothing else I can really get access to. It's purely GUI content. That's fine. If we look at the property, in fact, I'm going to pin the property right here just so I can keep looking through it. Depth, display name, editable. Has no enumerations. It does have children. Has multiple different values. Has visible children is also true. Its name is data. Where is that even coming from? And I have this property path, so I feel like I should be able to use... I wonder if I can get the owning object and then say, set it based on this property path. So I'd be able to do something along the lines of property.serialized object dot find, let's see here. I'm tempted to say something like find property. And there's the property path, but that just brings us back to where we already are. Alright guys, thanks for joining me today. I definitely need to poke at this some more, and probably I'm not going to end up doing it on stream, but thank you for joining me. Hopefully tomorrow morning I will have a working little button that I can press to instantiate an object and we'll be done. At least with this part, and it should be easy for us to finish stacking and getting all kinds of other cool stuff added in. Sorry we didn't quite get this done, but I do have to take off, unfortunately. Work calls, and as I said, as the server guy, I can't really just sit around here at home all day as much as I would absolutely love to. So, thank you again for joining me. If you haven't, please hit the little follow button with the little heart in the corner of the stream. And I really appreciate all of you who have joined me today. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great day. And I hope I will see many, if not all of you, tomorrow morning. Thanks again, and take care. Bye.